What is good? It's Casper. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the movie Bronson. The movie Bronson is a 2008 film. It's rated R and it's 1 hour and 32 minutes. Directed by Nicolas Winding Refn. A real quick fact with this movie, on IMDb, it says that this movie came out in 2008. The official release was in 2009. In 2008, there was a film festival that this movie premiered in. They're counting that as the opening premiere, but everybody was able to see it in 2009. So I've seen a few movies from Tom Hardy, and the movies I've seen from him, he fits very, very well in those movies. Venom is a good role for him. I think he does a really good job as that character. The first movie wasn't the greatest, so looking forward to the second one, but awesome choice to be that person. Venom, good role. Him being in Batman as Bane, I thought that was another role for him that fit perfectly as well. This is just one of those actors from the few movies I've seen from him that even though the movies are not great like Venom, he's still one of those attractive things in the movie where you appreciate that they brought him along. In the Batman, that was one of those things as well where you wouldn't mind going to his character. It would add a lot of cool suspense and it was like a bonus points whenever his character showed up. But Batman was one of those movies where a lot of the characters just made that whole movie full, and he wasn't the only one that made that movie. I have a lot of movies from him on my watch list. Kind of gives me like he'll play an Irish mafia mobster. Really looking forward to seeing a lot of the movies on my watch list from him. Bronson was one of those movies that I did not expect to even watch from him, since I have other ones that were on my watch list prior to this one. If you have any movie recommendations from Tom Hardy, I would love to hear them. A lot of interesting things about this movie Bronson. One, this movie is based on a true story. An insane thing to know about. Never heard about this. One thing about me, one of my favorite classes while being in school was history, so this is kind of like a history style movie. You don't really hear too much of what's going on in Britain and what people are really doing over there, besides hearing like the Queen, Royal Highness stuff over there. But besides that, interesting that they made a movie about a notorious guy in jail who basically went in jail for robbing a post office. He had 7 years in jail, but he ended up staying a total of 34 years, 30 of those years in solitary confinement. So we're basically seeing how this dude, Charles Bronson, how he ended up in jail and how he handled his situation while being there for those many years. The fact that he only supposed to be in there for 7 years and ended up doing 30 in solitary confinement, that in general should be super exciting to just be like, who is this person? How did this even happen? Another thing that just stands out in my opinion is the fact that Tom Hardy is from London. He was born over there. It just brings me back that a lot of UK, Britain actors are just very talented. A lot of interesting points and scenarios in this movie that you can actually pick out. So with this movie being a true story, I thought the way they presented this movie was actually a very cool idea and a cool way to actually show how crazy of a person this guy was. The way they kind of show this personality is basically with Charles Bronson having himself in a theater with a whole crowd, basically hearing him explain what he dealt with while he was going to prison, what he dealt with in prison. That presentation of him being in front of an audience to basically kind of be a narrator, kind of display his story as a showcase for people to be amused by, laugh at. This movie really has a cool blend of having Tom Hardy's character really just be the straight focus. I was like very impressed on just display in general. This movie had a good half and half mixture of knowing that first half was one of those scenarios where we're getting used to this character, and then the second half we're just seeing those moments in solitary confinement. Very insane that this dude had a character as a prisoner. So very insane how this movie is actually presenting itself on telling this story of Charles Bronson. Really like how it's not really one of those movies where we start off when he was a child and we stay in that moment for a while and section by section we're seeing him grow. I think the movie did a good enough job basically just giving us the perspective, giving us what his mental state was when he was actually in there, rather than just kind of getting used to his character, getting used to this person, and then just expecting him to go to jail. I think right away when the movie starts of him being the speaker, that host of basically his own story, I thought that was one of those things right away that I just wanted us to know more about this character. A good job on that direction, and it did a good job on just not leaving us bored. Very interesting. I thought it was really cool to see that performance from Tom Hardy. I applaud him actually doing this role, because this whole movie is just basically him, and there's not too many other characters around his character where we have to stay focused on them, but they do have good additions to this movie flow. Before I go into Tom Hardy's performance as Charles Bronson, I just want to say what complemented his acting performance in this movie was definitely definitely the camera direction. Camera direction in this movie was very, very cool because it had that grainy look. It had kind of like that UK British TV show style in a way. Camera direction whenever he was talking in front of the people in the auditorium, I thought that was super smooth. And then whenever it went to the real in-life moments of him actually going through the prison time, I thought those two camera directions really showing us like this dude doesn't really care about anybody. Great job being able to represent this crazy monster of a person. Tom Hardy and the director, man, those are probably the standing out things in this movie. Tom Hardy plays the character Charles Bronson, and Michael Peterson, they're the same person, but Charles Bronson is just the alter ego of Michael Peterson. Tom Hardy in this movie just made me more impressed into his acting. This performance really showed me like he was in his bag. A lot of his accent doesn't really bug the performance, doesn't really throw me off. He just shows me who this person really was. He really looks in the camera as if we're there. His acting style in the prison is just absolutely lunatic. You can't take him out of this mentality. You can only imagine just the people who actually really had to deal with him. The look was absolutely like vengeance mode, like fierce mode, underground dungeon monster vibe. Like this guy, oh my gosh, this guy has a very unique look. The fact that he can keep that shape and keep a lot of that stuff maintenance was one of those things that impressed me as well. I'm like, you would expect with this attitude, this character, the way he speaks with everybody, you would kind of expect like a musty, overweight dude that can't basically is just strong because of his size. But this dude, a lot of the stuff, the attributes, the characteristics, just the way he holds himself in general in many scenarios with his mom, to him being in prison, to him dealing with a female in here. There was just all personalities where it was just made this movie really showcase this time as well. Like I really like the environment of where this guy was imprisoned, where this guy first went to jail. There's a lot of stuff in this movie where you can see how and why this dude is going to end up back where he belongs. Full dedication in many scenes in this movie where you could kind of see that other actors might be uncomfortable in those moments. This is a movie where it's going to probably be like, whoa, I did not expect that. Seeing a performance like this really shows me that he's one of those actors that is very dedicated and probably just ranking up with every other movie that he's doing. I think a lot of the fighting scenes as well could have been a little bit more brutal, even though the blood in this movie was pretty brutal as well. They showed a lot of blood. I feel like they should have focused a little bit more on the scenes that made him look very, very strong. Some moments in here where I'm like, why are they only sending 4 or 5 guards? He's an out of nowhere character, and out of nowhere in every moment. Only thing I would add to this movie would be just trying to figure out what made him so artistic, what made him want to be a painter, what made him want to be in the theater stuff. Like those are things that I would really want to know, like what were the interests behind that. Overall, I think this movie just does a good job when you out of the movie knowing that this Charles Bronson guy was a crazy dude in jail. Crazy to know that he's still in jail to this day. I actually like the music. It really complemented this whole character, this whole world, and this story. So after my watching the movie Bronson out of 10, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 8 out of 10. So that's my movie review for the movie Bronson. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.